Okay, let's try volume 1, book 1, chapter 1, text 52. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Deśaś deva-viprebhyo datto vibhajya nopadravo tad-deśe śoko bhayam. The king has given away to the demigods and brāhmaṇas, given his kingdom away, divided among them. His kingdom is completely free from sorrow, social disruption, and fear. The king granted to the presiding deities of local temples and to the brāhmaṇas of each region official title to the various parts of the country. He considered himself merely the caretaker of the kingdom under authority from its legal owners. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the Wednesday group is generally half of the Sunday group. So I like to bless them and thank them and give them special nectar. So we're following the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Next Sunday, I may have a little audience here, so I may have to summarize. I really don't want to summarize too much here. We know what's happening. Narada is looking for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy, and he was inspired to see one Brahmin. Although he had all the accoutrements of power that normally intoxicate one with the desire to control and enjoy, like a fever. The opulence can be like a fever representing the disease of material existence. So he had apparently the disease because he had janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, Shribya, everything. And he was so unaffected. And his worship was so imbued with bhakti so that every action, the face is the index of the mind. You could see, you can turn off a situation comedy on television. Not that I'm recommending it, and you'll understand what's going on by the emotions. There's such a correlation. So there's a correlation between the subtlety of a person's emotions who's devotional, and what he did, not only his actions but what he did. It was so impressive that Narada became overwhelmed and had to approach him and glorify him. Especially at the end of the worship, after he humbly sat down and took after feeding everyone. Really in that mood of sincerity, His bhakti was not mixed with any other desire. Really didn't care what he just wanted to love and please Krishna. And he, at the end of his puja, he offers everything. If I've got any benefit from this, I all offer it to you. How many of you could actually say that after doing something, even devotional? Now it's, I don't want anything. It's all for you. And it's from the heart. He actually was anya, bilashita shunyam, jnana karma dhinavritam anukulyena Krishna anu shilanam bhak. He didn't want anything. It's not, can't be done artificially. Can't be done artificially, but that was his platform. And the proof of it is when Narada came and praised him, he not only deflected the praise, but he had no conception because he was looking at reality. And his reality wasn't, I am the center and this world is around me that I control. His world was, everything is Krishna's energy. And I'm but a spark of Krishna's energy. So what is my significance? What is my opulence? What is my care? What is my devotion? Devotion, I am here in this material world. I am one of the criminals. He could not identify with it at all. But feeling so much of God's love, it wasn't a psychological, his humility was not a psychological aberration. He felt so much of Krishna's love. And then he pointed to this king, and then Narada goes and he sees this king who is just a servant. It did not deter the fact that he was king, he was Sarvabhauma, not only the king, but of a substantial area. But he was such a great devotee, he had not the least conception of I am the controller. His full internal conception is I am the servant. And as the servant, this is my service to be the king. I don't think I'm king. Krishna is the king. But as a service for Krishna, I will be the king. And it wasn't just a mental conception. It says here, so many sadhus were coming because Krishna was so prominent and devotional, and the citizens were so devotional because of his power. And especially the main temple, but there were many temples. The main temple had exquisite prasadam that represented the love of the devotees that were worshiping the deities and that king. And here it says he didn't claim proprietorship to all of his kingdom. He established deities. Where brāhmaṇas of different areas actually had full legal proprietorship over the deities. And he just looked like a caretaker. It was so legitimate within him that I am a servant of Krishna. That is the internal conception that we have to get. And that has to be the lens by which we see and do everything. And someone who has that lens by which he sees Krishna everywhere and serves Krishna everywhere and sees himself as just a servant, his hands are always folded. What can I do for you? And that's really what the leader is supposed to be. He's supposed to be the servant of everyone. And in doing that, he represents Krishna, and the citizens revere him as a representative of Krishna. So in that type of kingdom, with that type of consciousness, and I'm saying this with pain in my life, in my heart, looking at the way the world is and the paucity, the lack of leadership, of people with character who understand the simple principle that Dharma leads to auspiciousness. And if you do what's right, good will come. And therefore, his kingdom was free from upadrava. Upadrava means disturbance. There's no disturbance. There's so much disturbance, you can't even walk the streets. And the government is harassing you. You can't walk the streets. The government's harassing you. The people are being exploited. The rich take so much of the money. The poor are not being sheltered. And then it's just, and then people are stealing. In places like San Francisco, every store is moving out because there's no law. No order. And in that kingdom, there's also never, upadravya, social disruption. There is tad-deśe in that kingdom, no ka-api of any śoko, sorrow. Of course, the material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, but there's nothing excessive. Everything was according to the logos or order of God. There were families attacked. There were families intact with mother and father, and children who are nourished and cared for, who learn from a very early age to be obedient to their parents who command that type of respect. And therefore there's psychology, the amount of good impressions in their consciousness that they learn to like the right things and they don't like the things that are bad. I went to Long Beach Island in New Jersey on the 28th, this Sunday, and I did a program. One of the people in the congregation, I guess, rented out 2 beautiful houses, so I came and spoke. And then Raghunath's oldest, his daughter and oldest son were there. The son was doing it and getting some stipend for being a mridanga player. And Raghunath would call 3 or 4 times a day. How are they doing? Even though his daughter is 18 now. And, his friend Bob said, he told me, he said, Raghunath called, but, they came back late at night and I asked him, how was it? They said, it's disgusting. People are drinking and smoking. And he said, I wish my child grows up like that. I don't like this. That's a good mind. And that will make you happy. Because when you do the things that are right and you avoid the things that are wrong, your consciousness morphs into a higher level of perception and contentment. And atava bhayam, and no fear. Because when you live a life of dharma and spirituality and devotion, and which are aligned with the soul, then the things that you do and the person you identify who's doing them is not threatened with death. It's only the false ego that dies, not the real conception. So the more we live the real conception of life, the more fearless we'll become. All fear is turning away from God. 53. Akrista pacha sabhumir vritis tatra yata sukham ishtani phalamulani salabhan yabarani cha. In that kingdom, the earth yields crops without being tilled. Rain falls just enough for people's comfort, and whatever fruits, vegetables, and clothing one desires are easily to be had. Purport, very interesting purport. In the Bible, Genesis 3:19, we read that God punished Adam for rebellion by cursing him that outside of the Garden of Eden, he will have to till the earth to earn his food, quote, by the sweat of his face, end quote. Previously, the Bible tells us Adam and Eve enjoyed the fruits of Eden without having to farm. The same ideal condition prevailed thousands of years ago in the South Indian kingdom. Rain fell just enough to make good crops, but mostly at night when it would at least disturb the citizens. Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anasambhava. All living beings subsist on food grains. And food grains come from rain, and rain is born of sacrifice. So when there's religiosity, there's a reciprocation. God has organized the world to reward religiosity. Sahaya gya praja shrishva parovachi prajapati anena prasavishyadvam ye voshta kamadu. I sent forth men and demigods, and by sacrifice you'll have everything to satisfy your heart and spiritually also. This materialistic civilization has an expiry date. It can't last because it's not good for us. Everything is fortifying the source of our anxiety, which is the false ego and the selfish conception of the self. Everything is fortifying that. We're being conditioned every time we open up our phone, we open up our computer, we are being conditioned. And it's not even subtle anymore. Now there's indoctrination into the materialistic conception of life. I guess most of you in America, but those of you who are not, you can't understand how absolutely insane what insanity is becoming mainstream in America. Swasadharma kritasarva Sukhinya Krishna tatpara prajastam anuvartante maha rājñā yata sita. The citizens, all happily following the king as if they were his children. They perform their own social duties and are devoted to Krishna. Purport, like children who love and respect their parents, the citizens not only obey the king's direction, but they wanted to follow the example of his good character. The king was an exalted person, and he would live his life under the direction of Shastra, following the Brāhmaṇas. He wasn't independent. And therefore you followed the king, then you also follow Dharma. In India, they're praying for Raja Ram, the kingdom of Ram. They're just praying for the kingdom of Ram. Some Raja Rishi, saintly kings. When Parivajrakacharya, sannyasi, who was preaching in Iran, and he was teaching yoga, and he actually brought the daughter of the queen of Iran, the daughter of the king and queen of Iran, to the Krishna Balaram temple. And when he came to Prabhupada and he reported his preaching, and Pradyumna told me this, Prabhupada was pleased that if you can make influence at that level. So he said, you are Raja Rishi, you are a saintly king. He said that because he was a sannyasi and he was preaching to the kings. And then Prabhupada said, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshio viduhu, that the knowledge was carried by the saintly kings. So this really sets a contrast with how the world's going to hell now. And God we trust is on the money in America. It was founded on religious principles and religious freedom. And America was an extremely religious country. And even to this day, despite all the influence, Americans generally believe in God. You can't say that in places like France. And that's the prosperity of America, because it was built on, on religious principles. Sacha garva sudanicha yogya sevabhir achutam bhajamano kilam lokan ramayat yachuta priya. The king is always prideless, worshiping Lord Achyuta with service as a menial assistant would perform. He pleases all the people and is dear to the Lord. Purport, so vast and rich a domain and such a reputation for religious accomplishments would make an ordinary king proud. But the Maharaj was a pure Vaishnava. He was happy to serve the Supreme Lord in the humblest ways, washing and decorating the floors of his temple, keeping the temple lamps filled with oil, and so on. As the term Achyuta Priya indicates, he did this not to make a show of humility, but purely out of devotional enthusiasm. You know, there's a principle in Nectar of Devotion that if someone is, if someone is very powerful and he has disciples worship the deity for him, he doesn't get any credit for that. You have to do the devotion yourself. Maybe you'll get credit for donating money, but so the king, just like King Prataparudra, he's sweeping the Jagannath cart. And it just shows you how beautiful the position of servant is. It's the platform where mercy flows and love can be felt and love can be expressed. Mercy flows, love can be felt, love can be expressed. It doesn't come from the platform of false ego. And that is pleasure. That is the heart. So the king realized that his joy was not in telling people what to do, but it was serving God. And as a service, he would do that. But he also wanted some personal service to the deities. Okay, next verse. Tasyagre vividarnama gata sankirtanai swayam nityam divyani gitani gayam vadyani vadayan pratri pariha sutai potrai prityamatya parohitai anyashcha swajanai sakam prabhum tam toshayat siddha. He always tries to satisfy the Supreme Lord. He himself performs Sankirtan before the deity, chanting the Lord's names composed in various attractive arrangements. He dances, sings wonderful things, and plays instruments. His son, wives, brothers, grandson, priests, servants, ministers, and other subordinates, he also has them take part. So when one can control his senses, and certainly when one is an advanced devotee, his senses are only used in the service of Krishna, and when they're controlled in terms of everything else. So one who has control of his senses, and if this is a patriarchy, then the wife, then the children, then the ministers, everyone is following. Everyone is under loving authority. That's the strength of conquering the false ego, conquering the senses. It makes one extremely influential. So these were all wonderful Vaishnavas, and everyone assisted him in the worship, and he was there in the evening and there in the morning, and he was playing instruments and singing kirtan. And it's an offense to circumambulate someone in front of the deities. So the king did not accept worship in front of the deities, did not bring that abhiman, that self-conception. I remember when I invited Narayan Maharaj for the Krishna Balaram Mandir, invited Narayan Maharaj for the Balaram festival, and I used to send a bus to pick up him and his men. And then we agreed to go to his Janmashtami festival. So he wouldn't have the bus come in front of the temple. It'd have to park down the road. Then they come by kirtan. Because one of the principles in nectar devotion is you shouldn't come to the temple on a palanquin. And that's why I say you shouldn't wear royal colors. The whole idea is you come as a servant of Krishna. You come as a servant of Krishna. That's the whole idea. So the king, he's in the temple. He's a servant of Krishna. He's not this abhiman. He doesn't have followers surrounding him and serving him. No, he's cleaning the floor. He's doing the kirtans. I remember Radhanath Swami once told me he had a very, very wealthy disciple. He was one of the biggest industrialist families in India. And there was a festival at his house in Pune, which he had a big country house in Pune. And Radhanath Swami said he saw it once he came in, and it was kirtan, and that big industrialist and his driver were in the center of the kirtan dancing together. He didn't keep that conception, this is my servant in front of God. No, we are the servants of God. And there's an equality about that. We're learning so much from Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, how to be devotees. Te tasya guna vrata, Krishna bhakyanu vartana, shankyatum koti ante, jnāyanti kotivāmaya. The good qualities arise from his devotion for Krishna. How many of them I cannot count, describe, or even aware of. This is the Brahmin. The Brahmin was praised, but he would just sing this king. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat akinchana savai-gunas tatta samasate sara harava bhaktasya kutamahodgana manorate dasati bhavato mahi. Devotee has all the good qualities of the demigods. You're not a devotee, your good qualities are manorate. It's the chariot of the mind. They're all connected to the false ego and how to enjoy and how to control. They're not connected to the soul. But these qualities arise when the soul is becoming pure. So how many good qualities? Tasya gunavrata, te, tasya, of his good qualities. Then Krishna bhakti. They come from Krishna bhakti. Krishna bhakti anuvartina. They're a consequence of his devotion. Sankyatum kati. How many can you count? Katiyanti. How many can describe? Jnāyanti. How can you be known? They're so innumerable. So the Brahmin's stopping there. He's given a description, but he said, I could go on and on. Purport, the Brahmin's logic is as follows. The king's good qualities I have mentioned are all signs of it being the true recipient of Krishna's mercy. I do not have the same mercy because I do not have the same good qualities. Each of the devotees approached by Narada will argue in a similar way. In fact, however, all these devotees are very fortunate, even if they stand on different levels of perfection. So you look at it this: there's a love of someone. His mother's love is pure, and he has an intimate relationship with a loving wife. So, in comparison, if it's pure, the intimacy with the wife has another element of expression that the mother doesn't have. But you really don't compare them in that way on a material level. The wife is higher than the mother, but technically speaking, on a spiritual level, there are different levels of perfection. The differences recognized by Narada and those with whom he speaks are spiritual differences, not determined by material rank or position. The devotee Brahmana would not have called the king from the south a better Vaishnava than himself had the Brahmana held the prejudice that Brahmins are always better than the Kshatriyas. This is very interesting. He's pointing to someone higher, but not by caste. Because the Brahmins are the gurus of all other castes. So there's a different standard here. He who loves God, his religion is perfect. He who loves God, his status is perfect. So now Narada visits the southern kingdom now. So Narada heard, and now he's enthusiastic. And Sri Parikshit is going to describe this. Sri Parikshit uvacha tato nipa varam drashtum tad-deśe narata vrajam deva-viprebhyo sava saktas tad-deśe praja. Sri Parikshit said, Narada then went to the country of the best of the kings to see him. Wherever Narada went, he found the people absorbed in a festive worship of the Lord. So the leader, the family reflects the parents, not absolute, but definitely that's the main influence. And the people in a kingdom reflect the kingdom. So Narada heard this, the glorification. Now he's going to see this kingdom, and it reflects on the king's incredible devotion, that wherever he goes, he sees Pujotsava, a festival of worship. Ashakta, tatra tatra, aikshita, praja, and in the citizens, he sees an incredible festive worship of the Lord. Bhakti is expressed through beauty. That's why Radharani, we understand, to understand Srimati Radharani, you have to understand the relationship between love and devotion. That love is devotion is love. And devotion and beauty, because where there is love, there is beauty. Because devotion means to offer the best. And you'll see that even in a poor person's house, if he has devotion, there will be a certain beauty, even if his offering is very simple. But it'll please Krishna. Okay, we'll go into what Narada sees in the next class. I'm leaving times for reflections and questions. Jamuna.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class. It's interesting. I think one of the things that made me smile the most was hearing about how pious Sachi and Rocco are becoming. I remember them as small children, and now to hear Sachi's driving people around and that they're disgusted by the material world, that made my heart just so happy to hear about them becoming really pious people. So, and that seamlessly goes into class. It's the leadership that it's the parenting they received from Raghunath, just as in this story that the king is really parenting the country, and what a contrast between this society we're hearing and our own society where that's completely not the case. And so I just love that you started off by talking about the two of them, and it was very much like this story that this king is like a parent to the people and everything is going so well because the head of the machine is pious. So thank you, Maharaj.
I speak what's on my mind, and at least that thing stuck with me.
Yeah, it's so nice to see them.
Thanks.
Now.
Thanks, Jamuna Jaya. Haribo. Yabit Sundari?
Yes, Maharaj. Haribo. Hare Krishna. This
Great
is Arzu with me.
Great to see both of you.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you for the class.
And that Kish Yatra, that's great.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. This is with your blessing, with your mercy.
Okay. Gail,
thank you.
Come on, some questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Maharaj. Yeah, just two quick things. One is just to confirm that the distinctions that we make in the spiritual world, everybody loves Krishna, so everybody's on that platform. But we do make distinctions. I don't know if you should say superiority. I think that's an inappropriate word, but it's distinctions of intimacy, like the mother and the wife, right?
Yeah, I would say distinctions of intimacy, but because people don't desire that, it doesn't have that rank. Like the mother doesn't desire to be the lover, So it's really a kind of an intellectual analysis and not an emotional feeling among anyone.
Right.
But at the same sense, where they feel Radha is the best, but they love Krishna, so they don't care. They just want to serve Radha to serve Krishna. So it's a world that's not filled with this kind of duality. It's just Krishna and what pleases Krishna. So everybody doesn't care if someone's more intimate. They just want Krishna more happy.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Also, just one other thing was just to psychological aberration means, when you use that term, you mean low self-esteem, no?
Yeah, low self-esteem.
Okay.
There's not that sense there. And the analogy I give is like a child. He loves it. He feels worth. His mother loves him. And that's the most the spiritual and the emotional value is a much greater value than material status. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
But people who have lowest self-esteem, they're analyzing things in the terms of material status.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why bhakti is so beautiful, because everyone could be completely satisfied as a servant of Krishna. And the material position, you can never be satisfied because you'll never be God.
Yeah.
Okay, Gail.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here. So good to hear from you.
Okay, Tota. Haribo. Anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Narmasaki, you're on every class. Somehow you're allowing me to come to your country.
I hope so.
Well, I'm here. My voice is there. And you should be happy for that. And previously, that wasn't really possible.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. This is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much for the class. And I impressed very much with the words that the king, who is the ruler, he knew that joy is not in telling people what to do, but in serving them. But can it be sometimes that serving can be in the form of telling what to do?
I mentioned that actually in the class. I said, and as a service, he instructs the citizens and rules the citizens. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Krishna-katha. Love that you participate. Wonderful. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Gita.
Haribo.
Maharaj, I like it what you said about how beautiful is the humility platform.
Wait, I'm getting this. How wonderful it is that what?
The humility platform.
It's beautiful because it's love. And it's beautiful because it's strength. It's self-control. Thank you, Gopikita. Nice to see you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Garaj. This is Lal Govinda.
And Bṛhad, thank you for class.
Let me try to find you guys. Oh, I don't have the rate. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I'm here at Super Soul.
Nice.
Yeah, great.
They even call this room now, even though I stay here, they call it Dhanurdhara Swami's room.
It's very nice.
Yeah, I have to move out when they have retreats.
Yeah.
No, they rent this for, like, he even told me, I think there's one retreat, Henry's going to come and stay. But I go to Don Cayley's. It's beautiful there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Sri Radhika, Haribo.
Thanks for the class, Maharaj.
Where are you driving?
Yeah, I'm driving to doctor. I need to go and see a doctor.
Okay. Hope you're better.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
Maharaj. Thanks for the class.
Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class.
Very good. You also give me an opportunity to go to Israel.
Yeah.
Also a place I love to visit. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to head out now. Vanchakalpa Turubhyas Chakrapa Sindhu Veba Chapatitanam Bhavani.